the best way I can describe this attack, this is basically an execution. Palestinians handing out sweets to celebrate the murder of these two young men. We must not take the law into our hands and create a dangerous anarchy that could get out of control and cost human lives. I'm Josiah, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Welcome back to the show, guys. Good to be back with you here Monday morning. We have some very, very serious things to talk about today. A tragedy occurred yesterday just down the hill from where I'm sitting in the town of Huwarrah. Two Jews were murdered. We're going to get to that in just 1 second, but now is more important than ever for you to get the truth about what's happening, because the media is full of lies, especially about yesterday's incident. All sorts of reports coming out, and most of them are not true indeed. I will be telling you what is true, so stay tuned. We also have some live footage of what's happening. We went down to this incident, got live coverage of what was actually taking place as it happened, so stay tuned for that live footage as well. First off, guys, make sure to subscribe. Also hit that like button, hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss any of the episodes of the Israel Guys, but hitting that like and subscribe really pushes us forward and gets us out to more and more people with the truth about what's happening in the biblical heartland of Israel. Also, if you share our content, we're putting out a lot of content now, a show every single day of the week, the weekday. Also shorts, we're doing YouTube shorts, so you can share those on Twitter, you can share those Instagram, all around, on YouTube as well. Would be much appreciated. Helps get the truth about what's happening out to the world, because we know the world needs to know what is happening in the land of Israel. And if you're a follower and a supporter of the Israel Guys, a fan, then you know as much as we do that the world needs to know what exactly is happening here in Israel. All right, guys, so here is the story. I'm sure some of you have heard. There hasn't been a lot of coverage on this topic from the mainstream media in the United States, but a lot of you have probably heard that there were two Israeli Jews, men who were murdered yesterday afternoon in the Palestinian town of Huwarrah. So Huwarrah is the Palestinian town. Literally, I can get to it in 5 minutes from where we're recording live on the Mount of Blessing here in Samaria. We can take our car and we can go straight down to the town of Huwarrah. Probably get there in 5 minutes. It's a Palestinian town. It's in excuse me, it's an area B, which is it's completely Palestinian, but the military security is there present in the town to keep the residents of the town safe, and also keep the Israelis who are driving through that town to get anywhere south of where we're sitting today. It's the main highway. Highway 60 runs right through the center of this town. And the military is there to protect those who are driving up and down the town, and they're also there to protect the Palestinians if there was any crime, that kind of thing as well. The IDF are there to protect both of the people there. So yesterday afternoon, I think it was somewhere around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, two brothers from the community of Huwarrah, the community right here where we're sitting, were driving through this town, and as far as the reports we know right now, their vehicle was rammed by another vehicle, a Palestinian vehicle. The terrorists got out. We're not sure at this point if it's one or two terrorists. They haven't caught them yet, but they got out and shot the two brothers point blank in their vehicle. I think the report said there was 10 to 15 rounds fired straight into them. Medical personnel arrived very quickly, tried to save them, bring them back, but unfortunately both of them passed away. And this really hits especially hard because it's right next to us, like right where it happened. Some of our guys were driving through that town just moments before it happened as well. Some of our team here at the Israel Guys. So just seeing this happen, and really the best way I can describe this attack, and it kind of makes it stick out in my mind as a little different, is this is basically an execution. You have these two brothers. One is 19, one is 22. The oldest two of 5 children. Their parents, their whole family lives here in the community of Huwarrah. They're driving through this town. They get hit by a vehicle. So, they're probably thinking this is a traffic accident, something like this. And then the terrorist gets out, walks over to their car. They're inside. They can't escape the car very fast. and just opens fire, right, point blank range, murders both of these young men. Now, Hillel Menachem Yaniv was the older one, 22 years old, and Yigal Yaakov Yaniv, who was 19, almost 20 years old. The older one, I think, had just finished his military service, and the younger one was just about to go into military service. Both of these boys were on their way to study Torah in yeshiva. Two Israeli young men, Jews, were driving through this town to go study Torah. They were stopped and they were murdered by a Palestinian terrorist. Some of actually, and looking at the photos, I know I've seen at least the older one. I've personally seen him, may have even talked to him before. And some of our team here, the Israel guys, knew and had talked many times to the younger son, Yigal. So we know these people. We know these people. Their life was just cut short, absolutely horrendous. And this is what took place yesterday as well. And obviously, there's a lot more that happened after that. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But we have close friends in Huwarrah who are best friends with the younger siblings of these two boys. And so it's just really, it's important, I think, to put ourselves in the perspective of these families and what they're going through, the mourning right now, this family specifically, and just the grief and how your life could change just like that because of the hate and what's actually happening here in Judea and Samaria. The mother of the brothers sent a message to her town of Huwarrah and said, quote, "We have a huge hole in our hearts and nothing can close that hole. Not construction, not protesting, nothing. Not even celebrations will be a bandage for this." I'm sure it's translated. "This hole will stay with us and we will have to learn to experience happiness despite this hole and to continue and to draw energy from you, from our children." They were too on their way to learn Torah. "Increase your own Torah studies and do something substantive with your army service. Make some soup and distribute it to soldiers," end quote. So the mother is just putting out that heart cry, saying we have this hole in our hearts. But I love how this is really the Jewish response too, is whenever something like this happens, is life and good. We want to do good and we want to bring life to the land of Israel. So she's, even in her deepest moment of grief, her two sons were just murdered. She is sending the message out that we need to help. We'll go, we'll learn Torah, we'll learn the Bible, we'll go out, we'll make soup and distribute it to soldiers. We'll do good things because that is who we are and that's what God wants from us here. So we're going to talk about the after effects of this attack happening right here. First, we're going to start with the Palestinian response. So what was the Palestinian response to this horrific crime, you could say? It's more than crime because it's really the culture of the Palestinians here in the area is terrorism. This is what they're taught in schools. This is what they're grown up with. This is what they learn in their religion. In Islam is to kill the quote unquote infidel, right? Or to kill those who don't agree with what they're, and especially Jews living in the land of Israel. So many videos, we can pop one up on the screen, going around on Twitter, different places, Palestinians handing out sweets in the streets to celebrate the murder of these two young men. Handing out sweets. This is absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe the world isn't covering this and the world isn't condemning just this specific action of celebrating murder and death like this. Absolutely crazy. Also, just the whole glorification of terrorism that's happening right now in all these towns. It's not just the town of Huwarrah. It's also all around in Nablus and Ramallah, like all these Palestinian towns doing the same things. There's also another tweet, we can throw that up. I saw that there was these children, pictures of kids wearing Lion's Den headbands. Lion's Den is a terror organization. They're wearing these terrorist group headbands, passing out candies in celebration of these two boys who were murdered. And if you look at these children's faces, you can just see that these are young children. They could, if you just took them out of that scenario and placed them like on a swing set, they would have the same expression. They're just happy. They're being childlike. And this is really, to have these children and to be teaching them these things. This is child abuse. Take a child and indoctrinate them from a young age to hate someone, to hate them with a eternal hatred, and to want to kill those people. When you teach that to children, there's no excuse for that. And then really that's the breakdown of any respectable society. If the society is respectable, if you teach your children to hate and to kill, I'm sorry, you don't have a place to stand, and there's no talking peace with your society, and there's no talking peace with your people when this is what you're propagating, this is what you're indoctrinating your children from a very, very young age. I mean, these children looks like what they're 4, 6, 7, 8 maybe, passing out candies in celebration of murder and terrorism. Absolutely, absolutely crazy. And as the Palestinian people as a whole, there has been no condemnation from the PA leadership, the leadership of the Palestinians. There's been no condemnation of this attack, which means they support it. They fully support it, and so do most of the Palestinian people here in Judea and Samaria. Full and wholeheartedly support this terror and these terror actions. In this, not to mention, we don't have time to get it too much in the show today, but Israel right now and the PA are both in Jordan, as per the mediation of the U.S. and Egypt. They're in Jordan right now for a peace summit, right? So the Palestinians are in name at this peace summit with Israel, saying we want to make peace, and their people, at the same time, are attacking and murdering Israelis, murdering Jews inside of the land of Israel. Until this stops, how can Israel make peace with people who are murdering them, with those who are sworn to annihilate and murder all of them? All right, guys, we're going to talk about the Israeli response to this attack, and as you saw in the beginning in the intro, what actually happened, the craziness that went down in the town right after that. But first, I want to tell you about how you can support these people, to support these families who are living on the front lines of what's happening here in Judea and Samaria. Our friends at Blessed by Israel ship the beautiful products of small businesses and families from Israel's heartland to people all around the world. You can now buy the wonderful taste, smells, and goodness of the Promised Land. Check out the amazing extra virgin olive oil, savory spices, cosmetics, hand creams, soaps, lotions, chocolate, coffee, and much more. The best part about this is at the same time you are enjoying the goodness of the land of Israel, you are also blessing and supporting the faithful pioneers who are restoring and rebuilding Judea and Samaria. That's right, your purchases are an effective way to contribute to strengthening Israel. So head over to blessedbyisrael.com to buy the wonderful products of Israel's heartland and support the pioneers of Judea and Samaria. Again, that's blessedbyisrael.com. Link is in the description below. All right, guys, we're going to talk about the response of the residents of the area, the Jewish residents of this area, after this horrendous attack happened. And this is something you, by the way, rarely see after a terrorist attack, something on this scale to actually take place. But I think it really goes to illustrate and to show the frustration that these people are feeling with all these recent attacks all over Israel, these murders, these terrorist attacks against the Jewish people living in the land of Israel. And it also goes to show the heartache that they're feeling after specifically this attack right here in this area. So after the shooting in Huwarrah yesterday afternoon, hundreds of the Israeli residents from this area who live in these communities, they went down to the town of Huwarrah, which only Palestinians live in this town, but it is an Area B, so Israelis are allowed to drive through. They're allowed to, stop and shop in that area. So they go down to this town, and basically they're protesting this brutal murder. And I feel like, from what I personally saw too, we're going to show you a clip in here just a second, but I feel like their main goal with going down there was basically to show that they're not afraid, and they're not afraid of these evil people, these terrorists. We can call them evil people who are murdering these Jews, and also that as the families and maybe the parents and the brothers and the friends of those who were killed, saying, if our children and our friends are not safe driving through this town, then we are coming down and we're going to show that we're going to make it safe. If all of us come, then it's going to be safe. If all of us show up and we're protesting, then this is going to make this a safer place, really kind of making a statement to the government. We need to make this a safer place. This can't happen. Actually, just last week, a massive rock was thrown through a Jewish car. I think it was a mother and 3 or 4 children. Girl miraculously escaped being killed. Could have massive boulder thrown through the windshield of the car in this town. So it's not it has a history of attacks against Jews, especially in the recent weeks. But these guys coming out, and And so we went down. We were up here. We heard what was going on. We could see some of the fires and stuff that were happening down in the town. So we went down with our camera crew to go check it out and actually show you what was happening on the ground from a firsthand perspective. Let's go ahead and show that clip.
It's 8 p.m. Sunday night on February 26th. Tragically, 2 Israeli Jewish brothers from the community of Huwarrah, which is where we are based, were murdered tonight in this town, the town of Huwarrah, the Arab town of Huwarrah in Samaria. Their names were Hillel and Yigal Yaniv. They're residents of Huwarrah. This is one of the worst terrorist attacks that's happened in a really long time in this area. They were shot point blank in their vehicle a couple hundred meters right behind us. And now obviously we're seeing all of the repercussions. The terrorist, as far as we know, has not been caught yet. All of the people that are all around us, we can't show a lot of them on camera, but a lot of the people all around us are coming out to show that they are not afraid, and they're not afraid to be living and thriving and settling in their homeland, Judea and Samaria, the heartland of Israel.
Yeah, guys, this just took place literally 2 or 3 hours ago. So this is very, very fresh, and this is the residents, the Israeli residents from the surrounding communities, the friends, the family of the 2 boys that were murdered. They've come out here, they've come to show their stance and what's happening. And obviously right behind you can see the fire. This is a junkyard here in this Arab village that's been caught on fire. But horrendous attack, horrendous a reality that the Jewish people in this area are living in. These Israelis that have come out, these are not extremists. They're not coming out here. They're not being violent and all this stuff. There's families out here. They're coming to stand and say, no, we are proud to live in the land of Israel, and the world should have no problem with that. Unfortunately, the world does. But don't believe the lies in the media when they're going to tell you that this is the opposite story. We're here to bring you the truth, and this is what's happening right now, guys, in the town of Huwarrah after this horrific, horrific murder.
So guys, that was the firsthand report. That was the firsthand glimpse that you can see on the ground. We were there. We just showed what we saw and what was actually taking place on the ground. And yes, there were a lot of young people that were running around, and they were throwing rocks at houses, stones at houses. They were a lot of them were lighting fires throughout the town, things like that. And that was taking place, and that really shows the intensity and the heat that these guys, the kind of the emotions that drew them to that place from all these recent attacks, the heartbreak, the frustration that they're feeling right now, just letting that out and venting that. And here's the thing, though, because the world is going to be painting this in a much different light than what happens. But you can see in the video, there were quite a few families, young children there. A lot of them were just standing there. And then you had a lot of the rowdy young guys that were running around throwing stones and lighting fires. But you had the families protesting as well. So here's the thing, though. Those people who were going around and throwing stones at houses and destroying property, things like that. And by the way, most of those fires you saw were junkyards burning. This town is full of junkyards, of junk cars. So most of those fires you saw were actually junkyards that they lit on fire with these old broken, beat up cars. But all these things, despite that, put that aside, these things are indeed illegal. You can't destroy public private property, things like that. And those who perpetrated those things will be punished. The Israeli government is going to go in and they're going to arrest. I think a lot of them probably were already arrested last night, and they're going to go in and bring those guys to justice. And the guys who were doing it, I'm sure, knew full well that they would receive justice for what they were doing. They did it anyway. But here's the thing: the Israel is condemning what happened, I guess you could say the destruction and things like that were happening from these protesters down in the town of Huwarrah. These Israeli protesters, the government of Israel is actually condemning that. They're not condoning it. They're not saying this is the response to take the law into your own hands. Minister Bezalel Smotrich said, quote, "My fellow residents, the pain is great, but believe me, we are working hard to provide a real response to terrorism, both militarily and with settlement. Since the terrible attack, we have only been preoccupied with this. But we must not take the law into our hands and create a dangerous anarchy that could get out of control and cost human lives. Allow us, as the political echelon, to formulate the answer and for the IDF to win." End quote. Also, the Prime Minister, the Defense Minister, and the President of Israel all condemned these actions that were destroying property, burning a few houses in the town were burnt. things like that, throwing rocks, stones at the houses there. They all condemned these attacks and promised a strong response from the government and from the military to this terrorism. They're going to bring these terrorists to justice for sure. But the world is painting this in a completely different light, and they're painting this as though these are equal, I don't know, you could say pieces of violence happening. Okay, so CNN headline, I know most of you probably don't watch CNN, but this is what a lot of people are seeing. Only thing they're saying about what happened. It says 2 Israeli settlers killed in West Bank shooting days after Israeli raid kills 11 Palestinians. You know that the lie's right there. 11 Palestinians were killed, were terrorists. The IDF went in to arrest the lawbreakers, bring criminals to justice. Those were the guys that ended up getting killed because they fought back against the IDF. They were shooting in gun battles. They got killed. Okay, has no equation to 2 Israeli settlers, Jews that were driving through this town were murdered in cold blood. New York Times says West Bank erupts in violence as officials pledge to work for calm. Talking about the peace summit in Jordan. So it's painting this picture. The violence is erupting because of these settlers going in, things like that. The State Department, U.S. State Department spokesperson, Ned Price, like to call him sometimes Nutty Price just because of the crazy things he says, makes absolutely no sense. But he said, quote, "We condemn today's violence in the West Bank, including the terror attack that killed 2 Israelis and settler violence, which resulted in the killing of 1 Palestinian, injuries to over 100 others, and the destruction of extensive property. These developments underscore the imperative to immediately de-escalate tensions in words and deeds. The United States will continue to work with Israelis and Palestinians and our regional partners towards restoring calm." End quote. You notice that Ned Price said in one breath, in one statement, he said, "We condemn today's violence in the West Bank, including the terror attack and settler violence." Puts them on the exact same pedestal, murdering 2 Jews in cold blood just because they're Jews living in the land of Israel, and all these settlers that got out of control and went down into this town and caused some property damage down there. And what he's referring to, it says 1 Palestinian killed. I haven't received confirmation of that. Reports I've seen on a lot of the news. Haven't received anything like from the IDF or something confirming the actual report. So not sure exactly what happened there. But injuries to over 100 Palestinians. The Red Crescent published that they treated 100 people for smoke inhalation because there was a lot of cars burning. But let me tell you, there was hundreds of Jews down there as well, so those should have also been treated for smoke inhalation. Doesn't paint the picture at all correctly. But Ned Price, crazy. How could you make a statement like this, putting the murder of 2 Jews in cold blood and what happened with the protest and what the Jewish residents, the response to that was? There's no equal, because let me tell you why. Because on the one hand, you have Palestinians who are murdering Jews, and that's their ideology, that's their goal. Their government is paying them to do it. Their officials, the PA leadership, is not going to condemn it. They're full support of it, 100% full support of it. And then on the other hand, you have these guys who were just so frustrated and so heartbroken about what happened. They went out and they let their emotions go. And what's going? Those guys, their government is condemning it. There's no need for the United States to condemn that when Israel itself, their own government, is condemning what happened, and they're gonna the ones that actually were committing crimes are gonna be punished. And so there's absolutely no equation here, and that shows you just the craziness about what's happening and what's going on, guys. The world needs to know who these people are, the people that have been murdered, been going on. And we just published a video. We actually published it just yesterday. Unfortunately, we made it before yesterday, so we didn't include the 2 names yesterday. But this is a video to help the world realize that we need to know who these people are. We can't just hear about a terrorist attack and just go by. So we created this video. It's called Say Their Names. And it's just a really impactful way to remember who these people were, who these Jews were that were killed just because there were Jews living in the land of Israel. The link is in the description below. I don't think we have time to show it on the show just now, but we'll put the link in the description below. It's on our YouTube channel. Also, it'll be on our social media pages. We encourage you to share that all over the place. Let's flood social media with this video and with the hashtag say their names, hashtag say their names. Also, if you know of other, you could post pictures of other terror victims and their names. Include the hashtag say their names, tag the Israel guys. But let's flood social media. Let's flood Twitter. Let's flood Instagram with the memory of these people who have given their lives, these Jews who have given their lives, they were murdered in Israel simply for the one reason, and that one reason is because they were Jews who existed in the land of Israel, who believed God when God said, I'm giving you this land to have for you and your descendants. Guys, the world cannot be okay with these terrorist attacks that have been taking place in Israel, unfortunately, in a larger number recently. Subscribe, make sure to subscribe to the Israel guys, and also share the video, say their names. Link is in the description below. Also, check out Blessed by Israel and buy products. Support the heartland of Israel. Very, very important. As always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. Remember, we'll be back every day, Monday through Friday, with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.